Hello, this is the video for the Chapter 10 Tech Project. We're going to be looking at Part 1 in this video. Just go ahead and run through it together. I'm going to be skipping some of the steps. I'll talk about them real quick without completing them, and then I'll do the parts that tend to trip people up. So, first thing they want us to do is load the data from Exercise 34, Section 10.2 into StatCrunch. You could type that data, but it's much better just to click load and get it in there that way. Alright, so to load that data set, you want to go into StatCrunch, be in the Meaningful Statistics group, make sure you're showing all the data sets, and then just look for Chapter 10, number 34, t-shirt sizes. So we click on that, and that opens that up into StatCrunch, and it's labeled our rows. It's given us the values of PI and observed frequencies. So let's go ahead and look at the directions again now that we have the data in there. Part A wants us to write down the null and alternative hypotheses and the significance level for the test and label those as steps 1 and 2. So that's like a normal homework problem, so I'm not going to do that part, but I will mention you can't do those parts without reading the problem in the book, so make sure you're opening the book up to those pages, and then it should be straightforward like a homework problem to write out your null and alternative in alpha once you've read the problem, but I'll leave that part to you. So let's see what's next. Next, they want us to choose data, compute expression, and then in the expression box, enter 760 times p. And they say don't do the quotes, make sure it's a lowercase p. So if you read the problem, what you'll realize is 760 is the sample size. So we're doing n times p. And in a goodness of fit problem, which we are doing in section 10.2, n times p are the expected frequencies. So then they're going to ask us to name that column expected, and it talks about what to do if you're struggling, but you're going to watch me do it, so hopefully you're not going to struggle with it. So I'm going to go to that problem, and I'm going to select data and compute and expression, and I want the expression to be my sample size, which is 760 times, and you just do the asterisk on the keyboard, times p, which is this column right here. There have been occasions where I see people try and do this and they type the data in themselves and they didn't name this column P, in which case the computer doesn't know what you're talking about when you type the P there. So it's important that it be a lowercase to match this the way I've typed it. If for some reason you type the data in yourself, make sure this matches what you had on the P column. And if you're typing them yourselves, make sure it says that it's a decimal form. Of course, easier just to load. And then what do we want the column label to be? Those are expected frequencies. So just like this column right here is titled observed, we'll call this new column expected. And you can verify this by doing those calculations by hand of n times p, and you'll see that this is what we should get. You could leave this or you could close it either way. Alright, let's see what they want us to do next. So now they want us to get a screen capture of just the portion containing the data. And when you want a limited portion of the screen, not the whole thing, definitely snipping tool is the good choice there, I think, or grab if you're on the Mac. So let me make sure I get to the correct screen, which is the StatCrunch, and then I can bring the snipping tool back in. I don't like that this small is off to the side, so I'll just click in a different square so these line up. It's not a big deal. And then I'm going to click on New Snip, and then we just need this part right there. So the nice thing about snipping tool or the screen capture tools in the Mac is you can just get the part of the screen you want. So make sure you do that. There's nothing we need to circle or anything on this one, so we can just bring that in and do edit copy, and then go to our report, and that was part C. So I'll paste that in with a Control V. Alright, and then back to the directions again. So now they want us to calculate the test statistic and p-value by choosing stat, goodness of fit, chi-squared, and then we'll select columns for observed and expected. So jumping in there to do that. So stat, goodness of fit, chi-squared test, and where are observed frequencies? They're hidden in this column called observed, right? So we just named those to match. And then what about our expected frequencies? We're going to select those also, and that's expected. And then let me just check if they wanted us to do any of these options down here. So let's see. So we did all that stuff, choose the appropriate columns, and then click calculate. Nope, so all we got to do is finish that off with calculate. In this case it says compute now. I guess that's an older version. And then here's our output. And then I just want to use the snipping tool to get that again, but they are going to ask us to circle some stuff. So let's look at that on the directions real quick. It says to use Alt Print Screen to copy the window. If you do that, unfortunately with the new version of StatCrunch, that will not just be this window, it would be the whole thing. So snipping tool would be better. And then the part after that says to circle and label the answers for steps 3 and 4 on the printout. So in any hypothesis test, step 3 is the test statistic, and in a goodness of fit, that's chi-squared, so that's this part, and step 4 is always the p-value, which is right here. So let me go ahead and do a snip on that. So we have this old one, we're done with that, so I'll click New Snip, move this off of my graph. You can do the whole box or just this part that has the output, either one is fine with me. And then instead of doing an edit and copy right away, here's our test statistic. I saw in some of the ones I was grading, some people like to use different colors. I believe, yeah, is that right there? Blue pen, red pen, black pen. So if you want to mix up the colors a little bit, you can do that. It's really not a big deal to me. So the p-value is step 4, so we can label that, and then switch back to the blue pen. I guess if I'm going to use the pen, I should make it all match, right? So this part right here is part 3. All right, and then edit and copy, go to my report, and paste with the Control V. Alright, and then we're well on our way to having this hypothesis test done. In part A, you did steps 1 and 2, now you've got your answers to steps 3 and 4, and I'm not going to be surprised when the project tells us now write out steps 5 and 6. And again, I'm going to leave that to you, very straightforward, like a homework problem. Really all we're using StatCrunch for here is to get the expected frequencies for us, and then to calculate all those mini z-scores and do our chi-squared. So it's taking care of some of the tedious work, and we're taking charge of reading the book and then thinking about how the p-value compares to alpha and making our decision and writing out our conclusion. So that's good enough, hopefully, to get you started and through any of the tricky parts. Usually the trickiest part for people is getting this expected column to appear because they're not typing something quite right. But hopefully this helps. So good luck as you finish that up.